that you need a little bit more uncertainty or variety, when you get that little voice whispering to you, like there's more than this for me. So that's what was happening to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you're doing a job that you don't find all that interesting because the money's good. Like, I remember sitting in a meeting and they're talking about whatever's going on that day, and you know where you're like, I honestly, genuinely don't give a fuck about anything they're saying.
Yeah.
And you're like, you kind of pretend that you care and you try and be a professional and do your best in that. But I was like, am I willing to do this kind of pretend life for the rest of my life and be like, that's what I did with me time?
Nice.
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Hey, what's going on? It's me, Mr. Paul Mort. I'm back with another episode of Paul Mort Talks Shit. Today, I am chatting the old excrement with my friend, client, and all-round fucking legend, Mr. Richard Weetman. Richard, how are you?
I'm all right.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
I'd say about 11.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, let's get down to business, Richie. I'm going to go straight, and I'm sure we'll cover the whole journey here. What led you to joining us in Unstoppable?
It's a good question, isn't it?
It is a good question.
I think getting a bit of direction. You know, it's like taking an idea and getting it moving and not wasting too much time. That was the thing. I think it's important when you want to get good at anything. Find people that are doing it.
I love it.
It's plugged in the right way.
So describe me then, before you join any of our programs, like where were you at personally and professionally with your life?
I think I had a good, like on paper, I had a good job. You know, I was making decent money in there. Kind of chased.
You worked offshore a bit, right?
I was on the ships.
Yeah.
So like that was going really well.
Not doing cabaret and that, right?
No singing.
No singing.
I'm not getting paid for singing. Like that part was going really well.
Yeah.
And I started to get towards the top of that career, and I remember thinking, being like, do you want to do this for the rest of your life? Like, because when you're kind of climbing the ladder, you're always on to the next thing, you're on to the next thing,
Yes.
and you're getting busy.
You got like a sense of purpose.
Aye.
Yeah, you're pushing towards something.
I kind of hit the top of that bracket and just went, right, this is me for the next 30 years. And then, fuck this.
Yeah.
You know, like really. So I stuck with it for a year or two. And I just started to have this feeling, you know, when you're like,
there's more.
this isn't what I want.
There's
like,
more.
There's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah. It's funny enough, I did a training on this yesterday where I was talking about kind of the 6 human behavior drivers.
Yeah.
Not Maslow's hierarchy, but I recorded, sat here last night actually, looking at the camera and not you. And I was talking about this need for certainty, that people have an inappropriate need for certainty, so much so that it keeps them stuck in lives that they don't like. Yeah. And one thing I was saying was that I was talking about like a seesaw of certainty and uncertainty, because clearly we need some certainty. Like I needed some certainty today that the roof wasn't going to fucking fall in, or I wouldn't have been in here. I need some certainty that I'm going to be able to breathe in here. But I think a lot of us have inappropriate levels of certainty and we want everything to be guaranteed. Yeah. And I was saying that actually I think entrepreneurs are right on the edge of, they live more in uncertainty. I think to be a successful entrepreneur, it's going to boil down to your ability to how much uncertainty you can comfortably handle. Yeah. But also, to jump on your thing, I was like, if we're sitting and we think, all right, where are you on a seesaw? We've got certainty here, uncertainty here, where are you? And I think you'll know that you need a little bit more uncertainty or variety when you get that little voice whispering to you, like there's more than this for me. So that's what was happening to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think when you're doing a job that you don't find all that interesting because the money's good. Like, I remember sitting in a meeting and they're talking about whatever's going on that day, and you know where you're like, I honestly, genuinely don't give a fuck about anything they're saying. Yeah. And you're like, you kind of pretend that you care and you try and be a professional and do your best in that. But I was like, am I willing to do this kind of pretend life for the rest of my life and be like, that's what I did with me time?
Nice.
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. So what was that like for you? Because listen, you know how many people I've spoken to about who are in jobs that the security's nice. Yeah. Maybe they've got a family, they like the pay, they've got mortgages, etc. Like, what was that whole feeling and that process like for you? So you've got this great job, you're getting well paid, you don't particularly like it, but clearly there's some level of uncertainty about, like, how did you deal with that? What was your?
I think at some point you've got to weigh up, like, what can I do instead? Because I think, like, not having an exit plan is a really bad place to be. Yeah. But you can start, like, that's why I think I got involved with you. Yeah. Is I start to know, like, I need to make a plan here. Yeah. Like, I'm not happy where I am, and I think if I try and stay where I am, it's not going to end well. So how can we start to move towards? Because I think you need to learn different skills. You know, if you're doing well in a career, you've obviously got the skills
Some
to stay
skills,
in that career.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily for the next thing. You know, for me, sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Because I've never had to ask anyone for money. You know, when you're salaried, you get paid. It's not something.
The most thing that's going to
talks
happen is
about.
apply for a promotion.
Like it just comes like you never have to ask for it.
Yeah.
You never have to really.
Yeah.
You just do your job. You show up and do the work, and that's just something that happens.
And then you get your pay on time, same time every month. You've got super certainty about what's coming in, what's going out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, because I did talk about this again yesterday. Like, I think we stay in these jobs that are secure. I mean, it's not my deal that I've never had a job since I was 21. No one would employ me, I don't think. But what I'm saying is, I think sometimes what people forget is that security can be taken away from you at any fucking second. I mean, there's maybe some lads that you've worked with on the ships who've just been paid off like that. Gone, no job.
Yeah.
But because they're stuck with that security, now they've got none.
Yeah.
There was no plan B, there was nothing else to do, and they were stuck with that. And I think there's many times we crave this certainty, and I actually think most certainty doesn't exist. I mean, we've all lost people in our lives like that. Yeah. No certainty. Maybe our partners have just left like that. We were certain they were going to stay with us. We stayed in it because it was secure, because it was comfortable, and then they left. But jobs are like the biggest example. Or any sickness you get, like, certain, I'm really well, I'm really fit, and I'm healthy. You hear it all the time. He's fit and healthy, just taken away. So I think this certainty thing doesn't really exist. So you had the plan B. What was that? I want to ask this question because I think it's very useful for the listeners and anyone watching video, in that we can have all these ideas, we can have these plans, we can have these options, we can have these decisions to make, but not everyone's always on board with it. And I think people fuck this up so much. We make these decisions and we expect everybody to support it. What was that like for you?
I think it's difficult because you feel as though, like, I think when you want to try something new, you want to tell everybody. And
try and convince them.
Oh, that's a class idea.
Try and convince them, try and get their permission, try and get their approval. And it never happens
That's what you're asking for, is permission. And I think, you know, when you generally don't get it, especially the better job you're leaving, the more people are like, are you fucking mental?
Yeah. Because they'd want that job. Until they did it.
Yeah. That's it, because they don't know.
Yeah.
That's, I think, with any, like, high performance salary job, people see, like, a nice car, a nice house, and they're like,
mate,
all right,
mate.
But you don't know what he's dealing with every day.
Mate,
the ins and outs
I keep wanting to make a post like this, but I don't want to come across like I'm whining about what I'm doing, because everyone sees the show on the stage. Nobody sees the outgoings of the show. Trying to get people there, people texting you the day before trying to get a fucking refund. Like, no one sees that, or they see the thousands of followers, but they don't see the fucking people telling me to kill myself in the inbox. Do you know what I mean? They see the 7-figure coaching company. What they don't see is the staff sickness and the weeks where we don't have any staff. And what they see is all these clients, but they don't see the clients trying to steal your client. Do you know what I mean? You get, like, there's that. People don't see that part. So I'm so glad you made that point. So on this topic of people, not everyone supporting you, how did you deal with that? Did you just fucking, obviously you just did it anyway, but was there
There's a little bit of, like, things I've took from you and the planner. Because, you know, it's really easy, like, especially when you're first starting out, you'll try stuff you think's going to work and it doesn't. And you think, like, it's a bit of a kick in the balls, you know, because what you want is to start your business, do one thing and that just blow up. Yes. And if you look at anyone that's found any success and you ask them, how many things did you try along the way? And they're like, fuck me. Like, if you knew, you'd laugh.
Yeah, and it's a mad thing because I think there's 2 points that just popped up for me there, mate. And the first one was that if everyone gave you permission, you probably wouldn't do it.
That'd be boring.
Because, do you know what I mean? Like, if everyone supported you, everyone blew smoke up your arse, you're like, there's kind of no urgency. There's no fucking, I think there's got to be you've got to have a bit of burning fire in your belly. And I think part of that comes from people saying you can't do it. People saying, why you're doing that. No one does that. No one charges that. No one does that. No one's going to buy that. Like, part of me likes that bit of challenge, that little bit of fire, because I'm like, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite a nice position to be in. But the trying part is so cool, because I also think that a lot of people get caught up so much in looking for the best way that they don't go anyway. The best way to start. What's the best way to start? I'm like, I can give you my best way. but it might not be the one for you. The best way to start is to fucking start. Do you know what I mean? You get so caught up in it. So tell me about some of the things that you've tried then, because we're kind of not on what you even do yet. Let's jump on that first so you can get an idea. So what is it that you're doing with your life right now? So was that just by the way, was that just to quit that job and move on? Was that just or was it an easier process? Or was it a harder process? Or was it?
I'd say it was a bit more choppy.
Yeah.
Because I kind of knew I wanted to leave, but I wasn't totally clear on
what you wanted
what
to
I
do.
was going to do.
Yeah.
And I knew I liked dogs and pets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was dealing with this problem with my back for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think the idea come from, is I was like, you know, I would say I'm pretty average, health, fitness, build and stuff. And I was like, back pain.
Not an average jiu-jitsu guy anymore though, Richie. Blue belt Weetman there,
Yeah,
Richie with his azul belt. Azul's blue in Spanish. I don't know if you knew that. There you go. I love that word. Azul. It's azul. So, you had this pet thing. You had this back problem, which we'll touch on in a second. Mentally, where else were you at when you were wanting it? Because again, there'll be so many people listening to this that are in this place where they're like, I've got this job, I've got this passion, which I think's important. Was there a plan, a date, or or was there a fuck you money bit?
It was fuck you money.
I'm a big fan of fuck you money. For you guys that don't know, fuck you's money that you just put aside in case it doesn't work. Yeah. It's kind of like a backup plan. I also have fuck you money, but I'm like, if I want to fuck this off, I can just do that. Yeah.
Like you need that buffer where you like, if nothing works, you've got like 6 months
safe.
Expenses or whatever.
Yeah.
Put away. But
so that's what you did. You put it away. And was it with the intention of doing what you do now, or was it just you're doing it anyway?
I was saving for a while. I was like, once I got that feeling where I was like, I don't want to stay where I'm at and I don't know what I want to do. Yeah. And I didn't really want to stay in engineering.
Smart.
I felt like, you know, sometimes you're like, it was interesting until you've like reached a high level of it, and then you're like, well, I've done that, so what, you know,
there's nowhere else to go.
Like I've always been a bit like, I've had tons of hobbies, you know, where you just want to try it.
Yeah.
Like there's tons of interesting stuff in the world. I want to give as much of it a go as I can.
Yeah.
So I think that was a factor. Like that's like a personality thing where it's interesting to me to try new stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I was like, when you're on the ships, you do a lot of time away. And as you get older, you know, when you're young, it's a good laugh, like especially on cruise ships, dancers all over the place, and you have a good time. But as you get older,
Elton John impersonators.
And it started to get like the life on there was starting to be really industrial. Like you just go to work, go to bed. It's really not very fun, and it's 3 months of your life at a time. And I was like, I'm not getting any younger. So I was really starting to notice, like out of every year, I only really enjoy maybe half of it. Yeah. And I was like, is that how you want to spend your time? That's a little bit, gets you down. You know, I'd noticed I was like, the energy was really low. Yeah. Because you'd work 10 to 12 hours a day every day. Just come back fucked.
Go to bed, repeat for 3 months.
Like it's not a lot of fun.
Yeah. And were you in this place then, Richie? Because I know a lot of lads that work away like that. Were you sessioning when you got back?
A bit like.
Yeah. Because that's quite a big thing that I think, going away, working away, and then when you get home, fuck it, I'm letting my hair down here.
Yeah. You haven't seen the boys or anything, so you end up just like out doing.
And then you will get to an age when nobody else wants to do that anymore, or as much. Do you know what I mean?
Much fun, is it?
You're struggling for people to get out with because everyone's got fucking kids or settling down or
but I think if you look at like your relationships, it's not like a healthy thing for it. You know, if you're leaving for months at a time, even if you can cut it down to a few weeks, but you're not present. You know, if your partner, be as independent as you want, but like they're with you because they want a partner, and you're never there. Yeah. And you're like, it's a little bit dysfunctional. And what I was worried about, I'm starting to get to the point where, you know, I'd like to have kids. And then you're like, what kind of dad do you want to be? You're going to be away half of their lives. Yeah. Let them fend for themselves.
It's a hard life, that. It's a hard life, that. One of my friends does it. He does a month away at a time. But he's done it since he was 18, so it's kind of, he doesn't know any different. So, we touched on the dogs and the yoga. I fucking just said the word. We touched on the dogs and the fucked back. We touched on the fucked back. So we moved towards, you thought, these are things I'm into. Yeah. I'm passionate about them. Let's have a play with this. And you know what, mate? It's funny. You hear this saying like, oh, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. I think that's utter horse shit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's utter horse shit. Makes it easier. And I also think do what you love and the money will flow is bullshit. But I believe that passion is the thing that gets you really resourceful. So there's clearly loads of people making good money in their business who aren't passionate about what they do. But if you've got passion, that's the stuff that'll make you resourceful when things get hard. So if I'm passionate about doing something, I'll put a bit extra in when I can't be asked. Do you know what I mean? If I'm passionate about something, I'll take a little bit of extra flack because fuck this, I'm doing it anyway. So I'm more willing to try things and fail at them because I've got passion, because I'm resourceful. So what happened next?
So I left that job. It was in there. So what happened? I was getting off a ship when the pandemic started. And it was like, am I going to get off? Am I not? And I managed to get home. And then they shut the borders for like 6 months. So the people that didn't get off
were stuck for 6 months.
6 months. And I was like, do you want to go back to that? And I was like, I kind of don't.
Yeah.
And I had like my relationship. I was with someone that it wasn't going too well.
Mhm.
And that was ending. And it was just a lot of stuff. And I was a little bit like worried about my parents.
So do you think that helped you make the decision a little bit easier then? Was that all, that might have been your level of permission? I have to come back on there. I might get stuck on for 6 months. My relationship's not working. I'm worried about my parents. That probably made the decision not easier, but a bit simpler.
Really, because you already.
There's more downsides. So the downsides are now outweighing the upsides of the money and the fucking
I had enough fuck you money, so I was a bit like, my life was already in this state of being a bit chaotic.
Yeah. If not now, when? That gave you, didn't it?
That was it.
If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it?
Exactly.
I don't want to use the word excuse, but that's not the right word, but you've now got all this stacked, like, it's almost like this is a fucking sign. This is an alarm clock to fucking shift me arse. Yeah. I love it. Then what happened?
You're like, I can wait and just sit around and wait for everything to blow over. I was like, you can get busy building something and just see what happens. So I was like, I'm just going to get going. And I think a lot of the stuff I tried, like I was doing kind of Zoom classes and just seeing who's interested.
Yeah. And yoga classes these are, right? What got you into the yoga then?
So I had this issue with my lower back for a long time, and I always had the story. So a reasonably big lad where you're like, I'm just not that.
I mean, you're a fucking unit, like. You're a unit.
And what I found though is if you're strong, you tend to be inflexible. Like, unless you've put work into it.
Yes.
People that are strong and athletic tend to be a bit restricted somewhere.
And, unless you've seen fucking my mate Sonny Webster. Fuck me. That guy's somewhere else. Jesus. Sonny, if you're listening, you're a freak of nature, mate.
Some of them shock you. Like, you can't really tell. Look.
Say that. I say he's a freak of nature. He's been doing that since he was fucking 14 or something. Daily mobility shit. Fucking throwing like insane amounts of weight above his head and that. So, yeah. So, you thought you were stiff.
So I just had the story being like, oh, I'm just one of them people. I'm stiff. And then my back was getting worse and worse to the point where I remember sitting, it was in the run up to Christmas, and someone went in it, and where you're sitting thinking, I can't get out of this chair.
Cheers.
It's in like this burning pain in the back, and I was thinking, fuck this. And I went to bed. I remember going to bed and sleeping for like 2 hours. I woke up completely soaked in sweat.
Oh, fucking hell.
And I was in a lot of pain, and I was just thinking, like, something needs to change. So I remember crawling, like rolling out of my bed like I'd been shot by a sniper into the back bedroom, put my legs on the wall off a video I remember watching, and finding a bit of relief from it. But
like with your legs up against the wall, with your arse like on the bottom of the wall. Yeah.
And then like spread your legs and
get
a bit wider, and I just did stuff like that, and it started to get better, and I was thinking like,
so just opening up your hips.
Yeah. So it's not that I kind of made the connection to be like, maybe you haven't got a bad back. Maybe you're just not doing anything. You're sitting all the time with work and everything and driving and whatever. Yeah. Like lifestyle stuff that's giving you these restrictions, that's causing you this pain. So that's something you can fix if you stop doing those things. So I just started like really looking at ways to fix it. And over time developed, like, I used a lot of yoga, but a lot of yoga doesn't work for that. Some of it's a bit, like headstands and handstands and stuff.
I've seen people doing them.
It's impressive.
I've been in a class with people doing them, but I wasn't one of them.
But like, that's really where the yoga started.
Here's a random one for you. Last night I found out I'm still paying hot pod yoga. Haven't been since 2019. Yeah, there we go. And I can't figure out how to cancel it. So I actually think I'm going to go back. On a Saturday, I don't train Jiu Jitsu and I don't lift. So I'm thinking on my day off, I think I might give a hot pod yoga a blast. Aye.
But that's what we're saying is you don't need like.
Oh, no, you have a class on a Saturday morning? What time is it?
9 o'clock.
Oh, man, I could be in on that.
Yourself down.
Can I bring my own heater?
Yeah.
Actually, but I won't need it at the minute. It's a
Most of
fucking
them,
sweat
man.
box.
Sweat.
So you got into the yoga thing and you kind of done you did some other things as well, right?
It was like mobility stuff, and like I tried all the, like foam rollers and buying all the mobility WOD gadgets and all that sort of shit.
Yes.
Like, I tried
And the saw right? Did you get the saw right?
Nah, I had something similar.
Yeah.
And I had this metal stick that you scrape your muscles with. Basically tried all of them, and I think like none of them were getting the results that, because stuff like getting a massage, if you've got if you've been trained, you've got a bit of DOMS, like delayed muscle soreness. Massage is amazing for that. But if you want to like lengthen your muscles and like open your hips and stuff, you really need to do some kind of stretching.
Yeah.
So I was kind of playing around with lots of different stuff to see what works and what doesn't. And I was like, what it is with yoga? It's really effective, like some of it kind of more advanced that you can move into later. But
but as far as a fuck back is concerned,
I like just get the basics done.
Yeah.
And as I was going, I was like, I started with teacher training and stuff, just really for my own understanding.
Yeah.
And I think the traditions, some people like it.
Yeah.
But it's like with anything on the first day, stick with the basics. Like you don't need to know what the Sanskrit name is. Like unless that's your goal to learn a different language, maybe don't start with that. So just make it dead simple. Anyone can do it. And it just started working for me. So I was like, during the lockdowns and that, when nobody really had anything to do, I started putting stuff out to say, I'm going to do a class on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
If you want to come on. I was getting a fair amount of people on, and it just like grew from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
So you the yoga thing then, how is it beneficial for someone with a back problem? Like, how does that work? You know what I'm saying?
Aye. So what you find with people is like most of the people I get in used to be dead active.
Man, if someone hurts their back, they're always told to rest.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
So it depends on really what you've done, because they treat it like most injuries, if you just rest, it'll go away. If you sprain your wrist and you leave it alone for a bit, it sorts itself out. Yeah. But often with your lower back stuff, it's like it's a symptom of something else. So if you almost never find anyone that has a lower back pain that's not restricted in the hips. Yeah. So if they move well, they tend to not get pain there. Yes. So loosening the hips up and just having a practice that loosens your body up from the day-to-day living. Massively beneficial for a lot of people, because the kind of yoga that I got into was yin, and like this yin and the yang sign. So it's a bit hippie stuff, but everything yang activities would be where you expend your energy. So like your training, even your work, like anything that makes you tired. Yes. So we're all really good at that, and that's why I think when people say like, "Oh, you need to do yoga," and they're like, "Fuck off, man! I already go to the gym. I already work. I've already got loads of stuff on my plate." Yeah. And people in like the modern living tend to be a bit tired and drained. So where yin comes in, it's a good way, a good naming. Yeah, it is. It is, mate. Restorative.
I love that about restorative. Is a great fucking word. That's what I find with meditation.
Aye.
So I find with meditation, I'm like, actually, I feel like I'm buying time here.
Aye, like
I'm buying time to not be fucking worrying about shit.
You spend a tiny bit of energy and you get tons back.
Yes.
That's the way I always think about like the kind of yoga, because there's lots of different kinds of yoga. Like people think, the more popular ones, like the vinyasa flowing one, that's kind of a workout. Yeah. And it's not the only kind of yoga. Yeah. So you can kind of come in, do a little bit of slower stuff, like a bit of stretching. Yeah. And you feel much better. Yeah. And
so you're the type of yoga that you're doing and teaching then is a mixture of a few different kinds of yoga then, and you're building it specifically around getting rid of back pain, managing back pain, and kind of making sure you don't get it, right?
Aye.
Yeah.
Just helping people that kind of want to live more active lives to be able to do it. Because what I see a lot of is like, I just had somebody in that they used to be a runner, and now they're like, she was struggling to walk her kids from the car to the school. Yeah. So she had to let them out. And she was like, every time I try to go for a run, I get so stiff and sore that I can't run for another few weeks. Yeah. And you just end up in this kind of cycle where you want to get fitter, but every time you try, you end up worse. Yes. And it really doing a bit of stretching breaks that cycle.
Oh, nice.
And then gives them the tools so they can recover more effectively, so
Yeah.
they can start building on that.
Yeah.
And we had her doing a 5K last week.
Oh, shit.
For
Nice.
a few months.
Shit. I love that. Richie, what are some of the kind of common bits of bullshit you hear from people about yoga?
I hear a lot of bullshit about it. It tends to be with lads. Because they're like,
Blokes? No way. Fucking hell.
It's just stories. Because what I always say to people is like, if you lost this bad backstory, you'd have to do loads of shit. Like, when you have to go for meals that you don't want to go. Like, you've always got this excuse.
Yes.
And they'll whinge like fuck about the back.
Yeah.
And then you go, come do a bit of yoga. And they're like, oh, I'm not doing yoga.
Then they'll do nothing about it.
They'll do nothing about it.
Did you follow this Instagram page called Be a Man?
Aye.
Dude, it's so much fun. Fuck your back and do nothing about it. Be a man. I love it, mate.
That's how they deal with it. They're just thinking, if I whinge about it and leave it long enough, it'll sort itself out.
And then they'll go to the doctor. The doctor will say, take these painkillers, and then it'll not get better. So how do you kind of get over that then to get people?
Depends on the person. Sometimes I like to wind them up a bit because when they're going like, oh, I'm too hard to go. They give it all the big and being like, oh, fucking lads didn't do yoga, and I was like, you just told me you sneezed and couldn't get out of bed for a week. So like a 5-year-old could deck you. So
me fucking Nana Eunice could deck you, mate. Me Nana Eunice does yoga. Aye. So you're taking the piss out of them a little bit.
I like to poke a bit of fun at them but get them focused on you. Like, if you got this handled, like it spoils everything. Like everywhere you go, it's there. It spoils your sleep. You can't do the sports you want. You can't do the stuff you want. You're like, what would your life look like if you sorted that shit out?
It's interesting that, because you don't really think about this. Like, back pain like that will stop you from exercising, stop you from doing the things that you want to do. Yeah. And I think actually that could lead down a bit more of a slippery slope than you wouldn't normally give this. I wouldn't normally give this airtime actually, but I can see now that if it's affecting me sleep, I can't do some of the activities I want to do. I can't train in the gym. I can't exercise at all. Yeah. What have I got left to make me feel better? To give me some endorphins? I'll tell you what I've got. Fucking 8 cans in a bag. I've got a gin. I've got a fucking gin and tonic. I've got a fucking vodka. I've got a whatever the popular drink is now. I've got a fucking espresso martini. Actually, you didn't get them in Shields, do you? We don't get them espresso martini vibe. Mate, the other day, I've got to tell you guys this. So obviously I'm not drinking right now. I'm 7 months, maybe past 7 months by the time this is out. And I was in Lidl or Aldi or something, right? And they had this, like a bottle that was non-alcoholic espresso martini, right? So I got it. The most disgusting drink I've ever had. It was fizzy. Espresso martini is not fizzy. So not only have they made it non-alcoholic in a bottle, they put fucking like bicarb in or something. It was just, I've still got it. I seen it last night. That's what reminded us. But yeah, that could end up in a slippery slope, that, right? Back pain. How else do I feel better apart from getting pissed?
It's difficult because you can't, basically all the fun stuff is hard to do. Like,
booze will numb the pain for a little bit until it comes back.
I think it can be a slippery slope. Like, it's something I don't like to, like you're saying, you don't want to get focused on it too much.
Yeah.
I think it can really take you to a dark place. And I think when it happened to me, I remember the time when I crawled into the back room thinking, this cannot continue. Yeah. Like, I was very aware at the time where you're like, you either sort this out or it's going to go really, really badly.
Yeah.
And I think definitely.
That was a line in the sand.
Aye.
Yeah. Instead of a line on the table. Fucking hell! Jesus Christ, I'm on it today. Richie, tell me about jiu-jitsu then. What you got you started on jiu-jitsu?
I was again, I think, because I was still dealing with the back pain and I'd always wanted to try it, like I'd seen it.
Probably not your smartest idea that I've got back pain, let's start jiu-jitsu.
Nah, I think it was but again, like you're saying, like you draw a line and be like, I'm going to sort this shit out, like challenge yourself a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, to succeed at this, I'm going to have to get it handled. Yeah. And that's like, how am I going to know I've got the back pain handled when the jiu-jitsu starts going well? What
was it attracted you to jiu-jitsu then?
I think it's a kind of useful sport, where I'd done a bit of boxing that when I was younger. I like the boxing, but as I got older, I kind of lost the interest. I think there's something about jiu-jitsu where you can go full speed. You can spar
every day.
But there's no striking, so you can spar every day. Full speed. And it's the maddest thing because you look around the mats and there's just like people killing each other. And at the end of it, everybody's smiling. everybody's had a good time, nobody's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Got Bob Marley blasting on the tunes and that. Like, it's just like,
last night I think we had Bob Marley on, and then I think we had some fucking New Monkey or something on, full on rave. Get the rave on, MCing and that. It was mad, aye. So, mate, I love that. What are some lessons you've learned from training jiu-jitsu?
I think there's really a lot, but
there's a big crossover into life, I think, jiu-jitsu. Like, I'll always use jiu-jitsu analogies all of the time.
Toughens you up. But I think as well, you know, like when you get yourself in a bad spot, over time you recognize where the bad spots are, and you're like, you know, rather than getting flattened out on your back, you're like, if I completely exhaust myself, to not let that happen is better than letting that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of know when you need to push,
Mm-hmm.
when you need to save your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, when you end up in a bad spot, that you don't panic.
Yeah.
Because you can end up, it's horrendously uncomfortable, you know, like under the bottom of somebody's
side control.
And
Yeah, someone's mount.
But you're like,
there's this new mount that's going around at the minute. The lads are calling it Guantanamo Bay.
Aye.
Have you seen that one?
Aye.
Ellis had it on someone last night. I was like, thank fuck, that's not me. Guantanamo Bay. They've all started doing this thing in our gym where they cover your mouth as well.
Aye.
That's the favourite one. I'm all right with that though. I'm like, you can do that all you want. I'll bite your fucking fingers. Aye. But I don't mind it. I'm like, if you're concentrating on that, if you're concentrating on doing that to me, I can still breathe really.
Aye.
Then there's a hand missing from somewhere.
Aye.
So I'm just gonna fucking take advantage of that. It's an interesting concept. What else?
I think when you end up in a bad spot, you're like, your instinct when you first start, everyone's got a story about when you're a brand new white belt where you're just completely exhausted because you're pushing and you're doing loads of stupid shit. You're just making it worse for yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, if you end up in a bad spot, and
there's
what have
I got? What do I know?
Aye.
What techniques can I use? You know what changed it for me, mate? When I stopped trying to get people from like A to Z in one move,
Aye.
I started being, well, if I just get that elbow in there, that'll get us from A to B. All right, I'm at B. What small movement's going to get me from B to C? Sometimes just turning your head in the other direction.
Aye.
Not even kidding. Sometimes you guys, right? Like, someone's on top of you, the temptation is to try and push them off.
Aye.
But that's tiring. If they're good, also pointless.
Aye.
So one of the first things I learned, right, I used to get stuck in this position called side control, which is rank. And I used to always spaz out in it. I shouldn't have. I can't believe I just said that. I used to always freak out in it. And I would, I'd turn away. But then actually, I seen something where it was a guy called John Danaher, who's like a philosopher of jiu-jitsu, best coach in the world probably right now. And he said, well, turn your body in, but if you feel like you can't breathe, just turn your head the other way. And I started doing that. I was like, oh, wow, that tiny little change made such a massive difference. I think that one thing you touched on was that when I was a white belt, and even now, I think one of the most amazing things about jiu-jitsu is your ego has to be able to handle. Your ego will never get a bigger check. Yeah. So for me, it actually keeps my feet on the ground. And I would consider myself quite a confident and outgoing guy. Some people would say I have a big ego, but actually in jiu-jitsu, you can't have a big ego. You will not. You'll not. If you got a big ego, you'll not make it past white belt. Yeah. Not even close. You'll probably not make it to the end of a beginner's course if you got a big ego. So for me, I always, even it's a mad thing. I'll do this today. So I'm running an event today. And at the end of the day, I'll feel amazing. I'll be like, I'm fucking king of the fucking dudes. I've just had 20 guys, round of applause at the end. Even after a bigger event, but I'll still go and train jiu-jitsu. Right. One, to keep me off the booze. But two, because I know I'm going to get humble there. They don't give a fuck what I've done. The lads at the gym do not give a fuck that I've just done a gig in front of 100 people. Whereas I went home, I would get boozed and I would think I was the king of the fucking lads. You know what I mean? So for me, it's one of the most truly humbling experiences. I think the trap that you can sometimes fall into in that is like life, like a comparison trap. Yeah. You do that?
Yes, I think you need to avoid because everybody's journey is different. You know, like some people.
The hard thing about jiu-jitsu. You're right.
And some people train 5 days a week, especially the younger lads.
That's the thing.
One of the things I had to, because I don't consider myself that old.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you look at these teenagers, they can train 3 or 4 hours a day. Mm-hmm. You think like you need to be okay with not keeping up with them.
Yes,
so if they get you just off pure athleticism.
Yeah. Because the funny thing is about jiu-jitsu, you say you compare yourself to where you were yesterday and that, and you can do that. But the problem is, there's other people who you roll with sometimes, and you think, oh, I'll compare myself to where they're at. And sometimes they feel much better than you, but then you forget, actually, they're the same belt as me, but they've been that belt for fucking 3 years. Or they're the same belt as me, but they're fucking 19, not 42. Or they're the same belt as me, but they're training 5 times a week instead of I'm training 2. I mean, I am training 5 times a week at the minute, but that's that fucking TRT for you. The doctor rang us yesterday. He said, Paul, your testosterone's gone from 12 to 31. And I was like, so that's why I feel like fucking Wolverine at the minute. It's a fucking madness. So do you ever does this back pain never show up in jiu-jitsu then?
Some now and again, like if I've been doing a lot of training, I get stiff.
Yeah.
But I think I'm starting to recognize the warning signs, you know, because it never comes on full on, like when I had all the problems.
Just a little alarm clock, little reminder.
For ages.
Yeah.
And I never done out with it, and then it got worse and worse. And I think sometimes you wake up and you think, fucking hell.
And the only time my back hurts in jiu-jitsu when I'm lying on my back with my feet up in the air, which is not my favorite position. Like, well, if I'm on my back all the time, that's a sign that my game's not on my back. So if my back's sore, I'm like, why was I on my back there?
So it does kind of come up now and again, but now I'd always describe it as like a tool set.
Mm-hmm.
So you recognize what's going on, like you get much more body awareness when you spend a little bit of time working on it.
Oh, nice.
And you start to see like, this muscle's a bit tight, and just, I know what to do to loosen it up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of manage it.
Yeah.
And I think if I stopped doing the yoga stuff, I'd have a big problem in a few months.
Yeah. You know what's mad? We talk about recovery and yin stuff a lot of the time. Sometimes it just feels a bit, do you know what I mean? It just feels like, oh, well, I could do that, but I haven't got time, or I could do that, but it looks a bit shit. Like, how can the listeners and the watchers kind of get their head around that? Because recovery is important, right? I think we downplay the importance of recovery.
I think you've got to link it to what you want.
Mm.
So you know, because I get that, you know, if you say, do you want to go and do a bit stretching? People are like, I want to go and lift weights. I want to go and do exciting
because we think that's going to get a faster return on investment.
And you just end up more tired.
Yeah.
But if you can link it to say, well, if I recover better, I can train better tomorrow.
Yes.
I can feel better and have more energy.
Yes.
You know, and enjoy.
And then I can progress faster in other things. Yeah. I have to do this with weight training, mate. I hate weight training. But when I'm doing it now, especially because I've got a comp coming up, I'm doing an exercise and I can picture where this is going to impact. So like a one-arm row, I'm like, that's me grabbing someone's fucking lapel. Do you know what I mean? Like I can start to picture that now, but we can do that with yoga as well,
training
right?
for life, isn't it? Like that's what training for the life you want.
Yeah.
Because I think I'd say it's hard to get people to focus on recovery unless they can link it to what they want.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to get a better result.
Yeah.
But say you're saying about weights, you know, like you wouldn't go and do bench press and then do bench press again tomorrow. Do it again tomorrow.
I mean, you'd be surprised. You'd be fucking surprised.
You know what I mean, if you take a few days to recover, you come back stronger.
Yeah.
And it's
funny enough, I felt that last night. I trained Monday, I trained Sunday, Monday, and then on Tuesday I couldn't train, and I was a bit gutted. Like I was texting people saying, "We want to train at 3:30." I couldn't find a training partner, and I didn't train. I was a bit gutted. But then I went in last night, which is Wednesday, and I felt fucking legit. Like I felt just strong and fit and powerful, and I actually felt quite athletic for like the first time in my life. But yeah, it's interesting and that probably is linked to the fact that I had a day off.
I think I'd say what you're saying with jiu-jitsu is that you often don't meet force with force.
Yeah.
You know, you don't tend to win with that. It's like if someone's really trying to put it on you, you find a way of moving out the way and using his weight against them.
Yeah.
It's far more effective than pushing back into it.
Yeah.
And I think like you can always try harder.
Yeah.
Sometimes trying harder is the right thing to do,
Yeah.
but you know when you're fucked, are you dealing with muscle pains or injuries?
Yeah.
Pushing it harder is often how you make it worse.
Yes.
Where you like sometimes you need to redirect your energy.
Yes. Redirect your energy. Nice.
And not stop, but find someone.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Something more productive to do.
Because I suppose this yoga stuff can benefit like other areas of my life, right? Yeah. Like if I'm sitting in a chair all the time with a tight back, tight hips and that, yoga's the fucking kind of the go-to for that, isn't it? So Richie, tell me about this whole the other stuff that you kind of get in and out, because I know you've kind of you're delving into the whole sea dip thing, the whole cold therapy thing, the breathing thing now. What led you to that?
I did a Wim Hof course ages ago when I was still working on the ship.
Oh shit! Is that how long ago you did it?
It was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. I did an online course.
What got you into doing that?
I think the earliest thing I did was I started with meditation because I couldn't sleep. That's how I started looking into what can you do about sleep. And people were like, try this meditation. I remember the first few times being like, you know,
fucking stupid this.
Fucking daft.
Fucking stupid hippies.
Hippie stuff. That's the thing. I think if you get over that, and I had the spiky mat thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that, to me, the spiky mat has a really similar effect as the cold.
Yeah.
Is you know, when you go into the cold,
Yes.
all your thoughts have to shut up because you go into this much more,
Yeah.
you know, like animalistic state where you
It forces you to breathe.
aye.
It forces you to breathe.
And it's surprisingly, like when I first started with meditation type stuff, where you're like, fuck me, you know, for 10 minutes a day, you just have this kind of calm that the rest of the day you don't get because you have all this stuff batter in your head.
Yeah. I think life just hits, things hit different after you've meditated.
Aye.
It's a weird thing to say that, but everything just feels a tiny little bit different. Everything just hits you different. It's mad.
Aye. But I think the Wim Hof stuff, like the breathing, has the same effect that, like, it really brings you into your body and out your head, that you're in this, you know, you just feel really relaxed and you're kind of okay with things. You can still have thoughts that would normally bother you and just be like, man.
I'm focusing on the breathing. I'm focusing on the breathing because I can't focus on the breathing at the same time I'm focused on what happened yesterday and what she's going to do this afternoon. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't focus on them two things at the time. What about the cold then?
I think that was, to start with, the same sort of effect as it just brings you back into your body and it makes your energy just skyrockets after. You know, you really feel good. And I think it's like the bumps in the road, you know, especially when you go self-employed and like you feel like you get kicked in the balls sometimes and it's easy, you know, like there's things like stacking your wins, like recording your wins that keep you feeling positive. But I think when you do these things that are hard, like getting in the sea, doing cold showers on the regular, you kind of harden yourself to it where you're like, these little bumps in the road don't bother you so much.
Yeah.
And if you can keep track of your thoughts, like I think the cold, the breathing and stuff like meditation all kind of comes together.
Yeah, me too.
And like mind management.
Yeah.
And I think if you get practiced at meditation, you can see like negative or like unhelpful thoughts coming and just be like, doesn't need a reaction, does it?
Yeah.
And the more you can tap into that, like if you do it a few times a day, like say twice a day, 10 minutes a day, or 10 minutes a session, carries with you for the rest of the day.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
It's
an investment though, innit? That's what, again, people, it's always time.
Yeah.
But I feel like when I do shit like that, I'm buying time.
Yeah.
I'm buying time because I actually believe that many people don't have a time management problem. They have kind of a time allocation problem where they allocate it. That's the problem. But really, I think most people would be better off focusing on energy management than time management. Because most people, there's a certain time of the day where they're fucking useless, but they still say they're busy. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, let's get a handle on that fucking energy first so you can produce better shit for longer periods of time without gassing. Because everyone has that dead time where they're actually doing fuck all. And then they're saying they're busy because their schedule was full or something. So where should someone start then with this stuff, Richie? Let's just say someone's in, maybe they got back pain, maybe they haven't, they feel a little bit shit, they're lethargic, they're tired, they're lacking motivation. Where should someone start?
I think getting moving is the number one thing. So whatever is the most exciting to you, go out and do something like it. Even getting your steps in, but like go and get outside.
Big deal, lad.
Switch your phone off. I find for me,
Jiu Jitsu.
It's Jiu Jitsu. But anything where you can't use your phone, is massive.
Yeah.
I think people don't realize how addicted they are to the phone.
Yeah.
So you just anything that I find switching it off. Way
Massive.
more beneficial than flight mode.
Yeah, me too.
Fuck around with it.
Yeah,
so
me too.
Switch it off or leave it at home.
Yeah.
Put it in a bag or something where you can't pick it up.
Yeah.
And have a bit of time where you're like, I'm just going to do the thing.
For me.
Jiu-Jitsu's class for it.
Yeah.
You can't bring it.
Yeah. No, you can't. I remember when I used to train over there with you, there's no way you could even video a fucking class. Fucking phone taken off you. Richie. Mate, I've had a fucking blast talking to you. That knock on the door was for the next thing. Where can everyone find out more about you? Because I love your Instagram. So what's your Instagram handle?
Instagram Yoga with Richie. On Facebook as well.
Nice. What about your website?
It's yogawithrichie.co.uk.
Yeah, let's go. Richie Weetman, everybody. Thank you.